forcing you to look at the future. And I think for so many of us, it is easier just to be in the present and look at the next week. But being able to plan out, like even talking about retirement, sometimes people look at me like I have a third eye. And I'm like, I know, but it's going to be here before you know it. And if you don't, then you're going to expect the government to take care of you. And I talk to those people every day on a show and it doesn't turn out good.
Hey friends, welcome to another episode of The Happy Hour with Jamie Ivey. I'm your host. I'm Jamie. I'm so glad you're here. This show you're about to watch is a part of a 4-part series for January called New Year, Same You. And the truth is, it is a new year. We're so excited that it's 2024, but you're the same person you were in December 31st of 2023. But that doesn't mean that you can't change. It doesn't mean that you can't make adjustments and resolutions and all the things. It just means we have to think about things. We have to be intentional about things. Life just doesn't change for the better or the worse overnight, usually. Sometimes, but usually. Well, today this show is with my friend Rachel Cruze, and Rachel Cruze works at Ramsey Solutions, Ramsey people, you know, the money people, Dave Ramsey. That's her dad, by the way. She works there, and I really enjoy talking to Rachel for a couple reasons. She makes talking about money not so stuffy and weird. Like she's like a regular person. She's fun. She feels like a girl like me. In the conversation today, everything she said, I was like, I feel that way. And she's smart and kind and all the things. Well, anyhow, we talk about money today. And if you were anything like me, and Rachel even said this a little bit as well, sometimes talking about money is hard and it's difficult. But I told her in the show today, about a year and a half ago, my husband and I started a budget, and we actually use the app that Ramsey makes. It's called Every Dollar. Stick to the end of the show. I have a code for you. We use the Every Dollar app, and it makes me feel so much more in control of my money. So today, Rachel is asking, she's not asking the questions, I'm asking the questions. Today, Rachel is answering the questions like, what is the number one thing we should do for our finances this year? What is the number one mistake we can make for our finances this year? So no matter how old you are, where you are financially, you're going to get something out of this podcast. And if you love listening to podcasts, go check out her podcast called Smart Money Happy Hour. Really fun show. I enjoy listening to it as well. Okay, here's my conversation with Rachel Cruze. Hey, Rachel, welcome back to the Happy Hour.
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for having me back. I always love being here.
I was thinking when I was getting ready to talk to you, I was like, you also host a podcast, and here's what I'm jealous of. Are you ready?
Hey, I'm ready. I want to know.
Well,
I'm jealous of you.
No. Jealousy's not good, guys. We should talk about that. But all joking here. You have a co-host, which I think would be super fun. But also, you and your co-host, you host a podcast that has the word happy hour in it, and you make a drink on the show. Or you have a drink. And I'm always like, this is brilliant.
That's so good, because I have the Rachel Cruze show, which is all just teaching. It's like a monologue, basically. And sometimes I'll have guests on, but it's very rare. Because that's how I was going to say, I'm jealous of yours because you have a guest on. But yes, with the Smart Money Happy Hour, that's another podcast I do. And we really had to push for it, Jamie, because, some people, but we do mocktails. We do every other. So we have a mocktail.
Oh, okay.
A mocktail one week, a cocktail the next week. And we switch off. And everyone appreciates it. You can partake if you want. You don't have to, but it's great.
I love it. The reason I named my show Happy Hour, because I'm like, I want it to feel like a happy hour with girlfriends, but yet I'm in this faith genre, which you get as well, where not everyone appreciates a cocktail. Totally. I appreciate a cocktail, but
totally. 100%. I feel you.
So for each their own. But thanks for coming back on. This is our series. It's called New Year, Same You. And I love that name so much because I don't know about you, Rachel, but I often come into the new year and there's a little bit of a tension. There's a tension of, okay, here's all the things I want to do better this year. And then the tension also is, but I'm the same person I was yesterday.
Yes.
There's the tension. So I want to talk with you about finances. This is your wheelhouse. This is where you live. And I first want to tell you publicly, I know I've said it to you publicly before, Aaron and I started using the app that you guys produce, and I love it so very much. And here's why I love it, because it makes me feel in control. I think I told you this last time.
Yes.
It makes me feel in control, even though I don't like people telling me what to do. And I feel like the app is bossing me around. I feel more in control of our money. And so it makes me really happy. So
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Well, when you texted me and you were like, Rachel, what should I do? I was like, Jamie, I'm sending you over an account. And so I'm so glad you're using it though, because that's how I feel. I'm a spender naturally. I'm kind of a free spirit. I don't do great with details. So like the whole idea of even the word budget, it kind of just stresses me out. I'm like, oh,
yeah.
But this, I'm like, oh my gosh, I track my transactions. I know how much I have left in each category. Like it just feels in control, like what you're saying. And I think that gives you peace.
Yes. And it's really good for Aaron and I both because we're both kind of spenders. But I told Aaron recently, I was like, I love it because he does the budget every month. He does it and gets it set up for me. But then when I spend my money, I just track it. And so I told him, I'm like, I feel good about that. Like when I go get my nails done, I don't feel bad about it because I have the money.
That's right.
It's there.
100%.
I get to do with it what I want to do with it.
Yes.
And so it feels really, really great.
And as I tell people, I'm like, a budget does not limit your freedom. It actually gives you freedom. And for us spenders, that's what it is. I'm like, I can enjoy scrolling through jcrew.com and deciding, I don't know, do I want that? Do I not? You know what? It's just freedom to be able to say yes when you can.
I love it. Love it. Okay. So people can download this app just anywhere in the App Store, right?
Yeah. So every dollar. So there's a free version that you can do, and it helps set up the budget. You have to manually put in your transactions for that one. But every dollar premium is the one that actually connects to your bank account, and it automatically feeds in your transactions. And there's other features with it too. But yes, it's awesome. It helps budgeting and money.
Time is money, you guys. Pay for the premium, and then you don't have to put them in.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about finances in 2024. A lot of people come into 2024 and they're like, I'm going to change my health. I want to change my finances, all the things. And so I think I want to ask you this. What if you were to just say, guys, here's the best thing you could start off doing in 2024 with your finances, what would it be?
I mean, I hate to. Okay, I'm gonna do another answer because my go-to one always is budgeting. But we just talked about it. So budgeting, it really is though. Budgeting, it allows you to know what's going on. And the way I teach a budget and the way that app is set up, every dollar, it's a zero-based budget. So it's your income for the month minus your expenses equals zero. And it's not some budgeting, apps or software. They give you like an 80% here, 10% there. You decide. Like this is up to you. And so what that does is it allows you to let your budget work for your life. And that's what it needs to do. So being in control of your spending and where your paycheck's going, I think is really big. So besides that one, I think the next big
can I time out? Can
Yes.
I say one thing before you say that about the budgeting? Because I have one more thing I want to say to you. We just started it last year. And I think what we learned is like, something would come up and be like, oh, we need another line item for this. Like when we had kids graduate. Do you know how much money you spend at graduation parties and for graduation gifts?
I don't know.
So I was like, Aaron, we need a budget line so that when May comes, we're not freaking out.
Yes,
so
that's exactly right. No, for real. And every month looks different. And that's what's great about it is it's for your life and what's going on. So the second one, it's a big goal, but I think it's something to have people work towards, and that's getting out of debt. And I know it's kind of Ramsey's like the drum that we beat a lot, but there is such freedom, Jamie, when things happen, whether it's a pandemic shutdown or interest rates on mortgages are going crazy and on debt, the interest rates were just insane. Inflation's hitting and you're going to the grocery store and you're like, oh my gosh, we used to be able to buy bacon. I don't even know if I can buy bacon right now. Like when all of the world starts feeling like it's coming in on you that you don't have control over, when you don't owe anyone anything and you're not maxed out on your credit card, you don't have 2 car loans sitting there and student loans that have been around for 15 years. And, you could go on and on and on. There is a freedom that occurs when there's autonomy. Like when you're the boss, when you're in charge of your own life and there's no bank or Toyota Motor Company telling you what to do. So that freedom gives such peace, I think, for people. And it just gives this level of, if something happens, and I think that's what we've learned in the past 3 to 4 years more than ever. I'm like, we don't know what's going to happen. And there's things we can't control. But this I can control. I can control when my paycheck hits my account and what I want to do with it. And it gives me the ability to say, hey, I'm able to invest this. I have money to invest. You have margin to invest instead of it going out in a car payment. You have margin to give and to be generous. You have margin to go and spend graduation gifts, right? Money for graduation gifts because you have it. And so much of people's income goes straight to debt. And so my encouragement and my cheerleader on the sideline for you would be like, hey, work to become debt free. You may not do it in this calendar year. It may take 2 years, but let that be a goal. And it seems like a big mountain for people to climb, but it's one that it really can change the game for you financially.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, I have been everywhere across the spectrum of debt. And I think at some point in our life, we felt like this feels like too big of a mountain to climb. And it's that whole little, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? It's that whole kind of idea, like just baby steps, babies. And I'm using your language. I should come work for Ramsey. I just use your little language.
So good.
Baby steps. But it's just like take it one step at a time. Okay. On the flip side of that, if you're telling people, okay, guys, 2024, you want to make a difference, work to get out of debt. I kind of think I might know what you're going to say here, but what would be one of the worst mistakes we'd make in 2024 with our money?
Yeah, I think one of the worst mistakes, honestly, is a level of not paying attention. And I think that's what ends up happening is when you don't pay attention, that's when debt can creep in. When you're not paying attention, that's where honestly you and your spouse can start to become living on separate pages. Like this idea of just apathetic, honestly, it creates so many problems. And I think that's a big problem with people in money, is because this idea of a little bit of the ignorance is bliss, like it'll all work out. It'll all work out. You know, that feeling. And that's me naturally, right? So I'm speaking to my own self.
Yeah.
When you tend to lean that way, you lose time and you lose effort, because you end up spending money, and sometimes money you don't have, just to continue to live this life that you're kind of just walking through, versus saying, hey, let's be intentional here. Let's know where we're giving, and let's talk about giving. Let's look at investing and say, hey, for the future, let's have some goals for the future, for our month. You know, what's going to be going on with our paychecks. So just having a plan and paying attention saves you money. And I think it gets you further financially. If we're just talking numbers too, right? Like we're not really talking much of the emotion, which is a whole other side of money, but just the numbers perspective. If you just pay attention, know what's going on, it's amazing what occurs.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I think I told you this before we started using that app. You and I must be a lot alike, because I'm like that. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't care. Like for years, I still don't know the number of what Erin makes. I barely know what I make, and I run this company. Okay. Money, I don't want to know. And so I kind of live in this space of like, if I don't know, then I don't have to worry about it. But when you live that way for long enough, it catches up to you.
That's
and
right.
You're just like, oh, wait, time out. There's no money. And I've just been living as if there's lots of money. Yeah. So I like that a lot. Okay. So we have a lot of people who listen to this show who have younger kids, and my kids are older now, and we're having different conversations with them about money. But you have younger kids as well. So talk to those parents who have the younger kids who are just starting to, maybe they're getting allowances, or maybe they're doing a couple of odd jobs around the house. How do we help our kids manage money this year?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. You know, I think what I've learned, I have an 8, 6, and 4-year-old. And Jamie, what's so funny about my work, you may feel this way about your stuff too, but I look back and I wrote a book called Smart Money, Smart Kids with my dad before I had kids. And I was kind of the quote unquote kid in the book, right? So I was not giving parenting advice as a parent. So I was very clear on my perspective on it. But I still said things, you know, that I experienced, but I kind of said them so dogmatically and all this. And then when you actually are the parent, you're like, oh, wow, okay, this is a little bit of a different game than I was expecting. Because I normally would answer your question of like, hey, pay him a commission, let him work, and you give, save, and spend. And all that is good. But I think the number one, Jamie, that I am realizing is that your example matters. They're going to handle money likely exactly how you handle money. Money is going to play a role in their life exactly how money plays a role in your life. And so whether you're talking about gratitude or entitlement, or working hard or being grateful, I mean, all of these things that we all as parents, and I bucket myself in this, want our kids to have. I can do all the tactical things correctly, which we need to do, right? Some people are raised in a family where there wasn't even the tactical side being taught. So that needs to be taught. But as a parent, I'm like, what Winston and I do and how we live our life, that's the number one. It is. And if we, you know, are unkind to a wait staff at a restaurant, they're going to grow up thinking that's how you treat people, right? And you want to teach them how to be kind to people. And so our example in all of it is really big. And so generosity is one thing that I think with my 8-year-old especially, I was just big on this year. And, you know, it was small things like we went to Sonic. This is not to like pat Rachel on the back by any means, but just small things. And I gave our car hop a $100 bill. And I just said, you know, and I told Amelia, you hand it to him and tell him Merry Christmas. Like, I want you to start participating in some of this. And experience that and know like this is part of who we are. And so I don't know, there's something about the example as parents that it's big. If you don't want your kids to be entitled, don't be entitled. As an adult.
It's so true. It's so true. I think I told you this last time you were on, but when we started our budgeting, Aaron, my husband, sat down all of our teenagers and showed them our budget he did a PowerPoint presentation on the TV. Sit down, guys. We're having a meeting, which that's not uncommon in our house. And so he showed them everything. And our point was just to say, like, it's expensive to live.
That's right.
And it's expensive to live how we like, we value out to eat. We love restaurants. We love good food. And so that's a value for us. And you can see that in our budget. But we wanted them to see what it is. And so that was something that we did with our teenagers. And then we have made a commitment to our kids. Like, we're like, when you are getting ready to leave for college, we want to give you a card that's reliable and we're going to give it to you. Like, this is our gift to you. You can pick it out. It has to be what are our stipulations? It has to be under 15,000, under 100,000 miles, and it has to have 4 doors. Like that's,
So good. I love it.
No sports cars over here. But we just wanted them to see like, okay, we had to save for this, and we knew this was coming. And so that's really good. Okay. So another a group that we have to listen to the show are people without kids. They are young. It doesn't matter if they're young or old. It doesn't matter, but they're just like, they don't have kids. So this parenting advice is for them, but they may be just either them and a spouse, or they may be single. That's a different dynamic when you're working full time and you just have yourself, or you're working full time and it's just you and your spouse. What is one of the things that you would encourage them to do this year with their money?
I would say bring somebody in the conversation with you. So if you're married, that's going to be your spouse automatically, or it should be. And if it's not, then that's a whole other podcast we can talk about marriage and money, because that's a huge topic. But even if you're single, like have that friend, which can be so awkward, Jamie, and it has to be the right friend with the right level of maturity to be able to handle numbers. But if you can share numbers with people, it's a game changer, because not only does it kind of keep you accountable to say, oh my gosh, here's where I'm spending my money. But it also is allowing them to speak in if they see something, right? And to be into purchases off of each other, that, if you have something you want to buy, but you're not 100% sure, you're like, oh, is this wise? Is this not? If they know a lot of your financial picture, and this could be an older mentor. I mean, it could be an aunt or like whoever it is, but having somebody that knows and that you're accountable to is really big. And again, if you're married, it's your spouse. Work together as a team, because when you have two minds on this subject, it just runs more efficiently than if you're just doing it solo. And money is such an isolating topic. It is such a solo topic is what it feels like. So bringing any level of, I hate the word accountability, because I'm like, I don't want them to be like, I'm going to be accountable to you. But like any level of awareness for somebody else, I think is really important.
I think that's good. It goes along with a lot of the things that we would talk about within our faith, of things that are in the secret. Usually it's easier to get by with things that are not right. And so I do believe that money applies to that as well, even though it's so difficult. It's so hard. I mean, even Aaron and I, we've always shared a bank account, like all the things. And sometimes I am like, okay, I have to show you this Costco receipt. I know we have 4 kids, but babe, let me just tell you what happened, okay? They had those sweatshirts. I got a sweatshirt. And then
they have great clothes. I mean, what can we say?
Clothes,
we went shopping,
all the bagels,
and we got the Cheez-Its. We did what we had to do.
All the things. The funny thing is, when I go grocery shopping, Aaron thinks this is hilarious. Rachel, there's something about me that if I taste something, whether it's at H-E-B or at Costco, I feel compelled to buy it. Aaron's like, you don't have to. I'm like, I know.
Like the free taste testers, like
the free tasting, Rachel. Aaron's like, you don't have to. And I'm like, I know, but she was so nice. And then I took one of her things and I felt so bad. And like, he's like, but now we have all this food that nobody wants.
So funny. Oh my gosh. That's fantastic.
It's just me. Except he doesn't complain when I'm like, it was the wine tasting. So I have
wine. He's like, it's great. So that's perfect.
That's great.
That's what we need.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect. Rachel, I thank you for this financial stuff. I think that for me personally, money has always been a hard thing to talk about. And in the past couple of years, when it's been like, we have to talk about it more. We have 4 kids who are about to go into the world. And so there's college and there's all these things. I remember telling a friend the other day, I was like, man, my biggest advice is younger kids around your age. I was like, you've got to think about the things that you don't think are going to be there. Like, you have to think about college. You have to think about cars. Like, you have to think about insurance. I mean, all these things. No one explains to you when you say, I want to have 4 kids, like how much it's going to cost to feed them all.
Oh my gosh. Yes. And the hard thing is with some of those conversations and with money in general, it's forcing you to look at the future. And I think for so many of us, it is easier just to be in the present and look at the next week. But being able to plan out, like even talking about retirement, sometimes people look at me like I have a third eye. And I'm like, I know, but it's going to be here before you know it. And if you don't, then you're going to expect the government to take care of you. And I talk to those people every day on a show and it doesn't turn out good. So there's a forward thinking level that you have to have with your money. And so whether that's per month with a budget, whether that's investing for retirement or kids' college, or these things, you have to really look out and say, hey, what are the things coming? And we're not going to know them all, right? I mean, things are going to pop up that you just don't plan for. And also life may make a different switch, right? Things can change. But as much as you can, do that on purpose and plan for what's ahead, it helps just give some clarity and some guidance. Know the road you need to walk down.
Yeah, so great, so great. Okay, so you had a book come out in November, a children's book. Tell me about it.
Yes, it's called I'm Glad for What I Have, and it's my first kids book. And it was so fun to do. It was so fun to write and illustrations. I mean, it's a totally different way of using your brain. But
Yeah.
I had little ones, you know, I told you that earlier in the podcast and you know that, but I was putting one of them to bed and Charles, my little boy, he was 3 at the time. And he said, Mom, is the Amazon guy coming today? And I was like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Is he coming today? No, we're about to go to bed, Charles. But tomorrow, maybe. I don't know.
Probably.
The example like we talked about earlier, I'm like, what example am I setting for my kids? And so it was just this moment of wanting them to realize that having stuff is not bad, but it is not going to fulfill you the way you think it will. And my kids, just like me to a degree, it's just stuff and stuff and stuff and stuff. And we just went through the Christmas season, right? So we're kind of on the pinnacle of all of that. And I'm like, guys, stuff is fun, right? We're not against stuff. It's great. But it is not going to create the happiness that you think it will long term. It doesn't. And they know this as kids. They play with something for a day and then they've moved on, right? And so letting them get that principle and the truth that truly God's love, his kindness, who we are in our life with him, that is it. Like that's what fulfills you. Your stuff is fun, but it's not going to fulfill you. So that's the book called I'm Glad for What I Have. So it's little animals. And so you get to meet all these little characters and they go on this adventure to find that out.
I love it so much. I too, Rachel, thought that writing a kid's book was just so fun. And talking about a kid's book is fun. And I found that kids' books they just really are what adults need as well. Like you just said, like this is a book for all of us.
Yes. And those are
you read it to your kid. Yeah.
Yeah. And those are the kids' books I loved always. When you get to the end and as a parent, you're like, oh my gosh, thank you for that message. I needed that too. So it's so great.
So good. Well, Rachel, thank you for coming on and talking about finances, which can be a little uncomfortable, but necessary. And I am like a walking advertisement that for the past year and a half, having control of our money has made me feel actually more in control. And I love it so much.
I'm so glad, Jamie. Oh, well, thanks for having me on. I so appreciate you and everything you're doing, putting good content out into the world with non-alcoholic settings. And it's great.
Okay, y'all, I texted Rachel after we got done. I'm like, hey, can we give the people a code for your EveryDollar budgeting app? And she said yes. So if you go to everydollar.com/Rachel, we'll put it in the show notes. Don't worry. If you go to everydollar.com/Rachel, you can get $15 off the EveryDollar app and $30 off Ramsey Plus. And so everydollar.com/Rachel. And again, I use this app. I'm not paid for this. I use this app and I love it. It is such a great thing. Also, her kids' book is so stinking cute. If you're looking for a gift for your kids or anybody's kids or your neighbor or whatever, check that out as well. Okay, guys, thanks for being with us today. Hey friends, I hope you love this conversation as much as I did. To make sure that you never miss any of the happy hour conversations, go ahead and hit the subscribe button below to make sure you're notified every time we release a new episode. And if you want more content today, click on those videos over there. I think you're going to like them just as much as you like the one today.